Well, good architecture is the architecture that fulfills the need of the people, serve the public, and make people's life much easier, much happier. I was born in Vancouver, a third-generation Japanese. I was about 8 years old when the war started, and at that time, all the Japanese people of Japanese origin were considered aliens, so they sent us to an internment camp in the interior British Columbia. For a couple of years, there were no school, so we had to make our own things. Well, when the war ended, then the camps were disbanded, so we lived in this small town. But the high school there, it was quite small, so in my final year, I felt that I should go to a bigger school, a proper school. So I went to Vancouver, back to Vancouver, but I didn't have a place to stay, so I worked as a houseboy. Household that I worked with happened to be an architect, and I was able to see his work, his life, and I liked it. Well, I liked architecture because it is not just a science, but you learn how to create things. So you use your creative abilities in order to try to do something. When I was at Manitoba, I met Lana there, who came from Hong Kong. And I said to her that after I graduate from MIT and had make enough money to go to Hong Kong, that I would ask her to marry me. So after studying at MIT, I worked for 3 years, and then I made a plan to go around the world, stop by Hong Kong, and ask Lana to marry me, and then we spent the honeymoon in Europe and go back to the States, where I already had a job waiting for me. So that's how I came to Hong Kong. But when I came here and asked Lana for her hand, she said, "Well, we've been apart for so many years. I'd like to wait a while. I don't like to just get married and go to America just like that." So I decided that I'll stay in Hong Kong, and so I had to start looking for a job. So ever since I came here in 1960, I've been here all the time. I never moved anywhere else. When I came here, most of the buildings were low-rise. They were not very high. Maybe the old Hong Kong Shanghai Bank was the tallest building in Hong Kong. There were not too many architects. There were a few old colonial colonial firms like Palmer & Turner and Leon Orange, and some firms that came from Shanghai after the war, and some new firms, which was started by the graduates of the Hong Kong University, which just started the School of Architecture. The institute here had 68 members, and today it's got about 4,700 members. The projects were not that large. Today the projects are very large, and the cost has risen astronomically. Because the first project I did, which was done in 1960s, was the Hilton Hotel, and that was the project cost was 25 million Hong Kong. Now it would cost maybe 1,000 times more for that sort of building. It's much more expensive now, completely changed. Well, I enjoyed the old colonial buildings in Hong Kong, and in a way I'm very sorry that buildings such as Queen's Building and the old Princess Building are gone, because to me that is very representative of Hong Kong. It's got the old arcade, walkway on the ground floor, solved the idea of ventilation when there was no air conditioning. But now with air conditioning, all the buildings are using glass building, sealed off. Everything is done mechanically, and there's no response to nature and response to the natural way of solving it. Well, good architecture is the architecture that fulfills the need of the people, serve the public, and make people's life much easier, much happier, a nicer place to live, nicer place to work, whatever it is. Try to make a better environment for the world. That to me is good architecture.